Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a very interesting shell and choke combo to try out, neither of which we have tested on the channel in a good long while now, so I'm definitely curious to see how this combo does, because it might work out surprisingly well, or it could be a little bit on the disappointing side as well. But as for the shells I brought today, I got out some of these, the Fiocchi Golden Turkey 12 gauge 3-inch 1 3/4 ounce payload of lead 6s. They're moving about 1200 feet per second, and these Fiocchi Golden Turkey lead shells have been some decent performing shells so far. They're definitely more towards the budget end. I think for a box of 10 of these, it was like $11.99, $12.99, something along that line. So right at $1-ish per shell, or just a touch over maybe. And they are a very basic turkey load, just a nickel-plated lead pellet without any kind of special buffer material or anything like that. But for what they are, they've given us some okay patterns so far. Definitely some usable results, but I don't know how they're going to do through today's choke combo. And as for that setup, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose. It's got a 24-inch barrel on it, and for that choke, I've got the Patternmaster Black Mamba. It's a 690 construction, and this is Patternmaster's kind of do-all choke. You can run turkey loads through it, you can run steel waterfowl stuff through it, you can run buckshot through it, and it kind of does well with a wide variety of stuff. So a little bit of a one choke for most circumstances type of deal. It does have their spiral gas over constriction type of technology in there, but for being a 690, which is a typical full choke constriction, it's given us some very nice turkey patterns so far. But is it enough to actually get a lead 6 and a cheaper lead 6 at that to pattern well? I don't know. We're just gonna have to see what happens. But as for our test today, everything is set up the same as usual. The turkey target is at 40 yards, and I've got the chrono so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see what the Golden Turkey 6s can do through that Black Mamba 690. It might work out great. It might be a little bit on the disappointing side. I don't know yet, but let's take our shot and see what we get. Alright, that shell gave us 1166 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1200. So from our 24-inch barrel, that's pretty much what I would expect to see, is just below box claim, and that's what we got. So looking fine for a velocity up here, but how did they actually perform down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, do we have a dead turkey? Yes, we do. There's one definitely through the brain, and a couple more around the edges, and several more down the spine. So, yes, you would have killed that turkey, but looking at the entire pattern, it is definitely much more on the broad and open side than what we typically see from a good turkey pattern. So this combo, I think, pretty much did what I was kind of concerned about here. I figured coming into it, it was going to do one of two things. Either this was just not going to be enough constriction for a non-buffered lead number 6. That's a very basic and very cheap load, and we just weren't going to have enough to get us a tight pattern down here. Or on the flip side of that, that gas over constriction in that choke could have really surprised us and thrown a very nice and tight pattern, and that's not really what we saw. We have absolutely seen much better and much tighter turkey patterns from these shells than what this is right here, no doubt about it, but this is still good enough to get you a turkey with it, although it definitely would not be my preferred combination. Moving in and looking here at our turkey paper, we really don't have any super noticeable or defined core area. It's just a bunch of shot across the paper more than anything else. We definitely have a void right up top and center there above his head, and maybe a little bit of one back behind his neck and down here right above his beard too. So not super even, but good enough to where there's nowhere he could walk through your pattern on you. Around the edges, we pretty much covered most of the rest of the target here, except for the very bottom down there. It's just pretty much a good wing shooting pattern, really. And I don't think that's too surprising either. That would make for a pretty nice little upland shell for quail or pheasants or something like that. That pattern right there would be very nice for those type of situations. But for a turkey, not exactly what we're looking for. We just don't have any kind of defined core. And with how broad that pattern is, you're gonna get a few down in your meat probably, and you risk the potential of hitting another bird if there's one that's relatively close to him as well. So not the ideal turkey pattern, and I really don't think that is much better than what a regular standard full choke would give us with this particular shell either. So maybe a little bit disappointing as far as the turkey pattern goes, but I don't think it's too surprising overall today. That's probably what a lot of us expected to see, but it was just one of those combinations that was just kind of oddball enough to where it might work out surprisingly well, or it could give us a very basic kind of underwhelming pattern. And I think the second is what we got here today. So nothing super impressive, although if it's what you had, it would still work, especially if you keep your shots inside of 30 yards or so. And here's the wad from that shell. Very basic, kind of a heavy field type of wad here. It's a little bit longer than your typical like trap or skeet loads or something, but it's not quite full length when it sits in that shell either. You do have pellets over the top of it, and it's definitely nothing fancy in design, but there's nothing stuck down in there. There's no damage or anything to it. Looks very good, and that choke is pretty good at keeping wads in good condition. So nothing special to see here today, just a very basic wad design overall. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? Definitely a little bit on the disappointing side as far as a turkey pattern goes, but I don't think a lot of us are probably going to be surprised about that. Like I already mentioned, it was going to go one of two ways. Either it was going to be surprisingly good since it's a little bit of a strange combination, or it was going to be very mediocre and very expected of a result, and I think that's what we saw here today. I don't think it would be much different if you ran it through your stock factory full chokes either, and yes, it is still 40-yard capable for turkeys, but definitely not the ideal combo. We've seen much better out of these shells before with an actual tighter, more dedicated turkey choke. But when I saw this combination, I figured, hey, it's just strange enough to where we have to try it and see what happens. And I would say not the greatest turkey combo, but it would make for a pretty good upland load for your quail, pheasants. So for that world, that's a beautiful pattern. For the turkeys, not so much. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Fiocchi Golden Turkey lead shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a pattern you would hunt turkeys with? Or is it just too broad and open for you? And what other shell or choke combos do you want to see with either those Golden Turkeys or that Patternmaster Black Mamba 690? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be down in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.